You're watching UATV News. My name is Ina Kosinska. Good evening. Minimum and medium wage increase, credit programs liberalization, military budget and progress in the aviation building. These are some of the theses delivered by President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelenskyy in his annual address to the parliament. According to the head of state, soon all Ukrainians under 18 will be getting part of the revenues taken from taxation of the natural resources use. The relevant regulation has recently been adopted by legislators. It increases the burden for the commercial extraction of minerals, particularly affecting over-benefited enterprises of major Ukrainian tycoons.
Yesterday, we passed an extremely important taxation bill number 5600, increasing the rental payment for the utilization of the natural resources. We will commit these funds to the future of our children. I'm grateful and welcoming our tycoons that thus turn to be the real investors of the well-being of our kids. This is happening first time since Ukraine got its independence.
Armed aggression in the Donbas, occupation of Crimea, and artificial migration and energy crisis in Europe, concentration of troops near the Ukrainian border, and a threat of a full-scale invasion. All this is the Kremlin's response to Ukraine's aspirations to become a full-fledged member of the European Union. This was stated by Prime Minister Shmyhal during his working visit to Brussels. In an exclusive comment to our TV channel, the head of government emphasized Russia will pay a high price if it decides to go on the offensive against Ukraine.
Europeans are very concerned about the actions that are taking place along the borders of Ukraine and on the Russian side, as well as about what is happening in the temporarily occupied territory of Crimea. Moreover, the European partners are ready to react very quickly and very effectively to possible manifestations of any aggression. Europeans today feel and see all threats, which emerge both in front of Ukraine and in front of our partner countries. And therefore, the reaction will be very fast, tough, and the price for reckless aggression should be high.
Russia is accumulating military forces on its borders with Ukraine, but a full-scale invasion isn't expected. According to experts from the Center for Defense Strategies, the Kremlin is conducting an information campaign to influence Washington. And the accumulation of troops and the threat of war are among the levels of pressure on the United States. The aggravation of the situation on the borders of Belarus, Poland and Lithuania, as well as crisis in the energy sector artificially created by Putin in Europe, are only a part of the Kremlin strategy.
This is the risk of a full-scale combined arms operation which will employ all standard types of weapons, the aviation fleet, the armored vehicles in large quantities. These are the scenarios that are described in the foreign press, the American one for all hybrid spectra, and they seem absolutely real. There is also a big problem in Belarus. Cyber attacks are absolutely possible as well.
Counteraction to Russian aggression was discussed by Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, Kuleba, with leaders of NATO member states in Riga. The head of the Ukrainian diplomacy will offer NATO allies a number of concrete steps, which include strengthening the sanctions pressure on Russia and strengthening the defense capabilities of Ukraine.
We will call on the allies to join Ukraine in putting together a deterrence package that consists of 3 layers. The first one is political messaging, clear communication to Russia about the consequences of its potential aggressive moves in Ukraine. The second one should be a set of economic measures, to put it simply, sanctions that will be imposed on Russia if it decides to choose the worst case scenario. And the third element is the boosting military and defense cooperation with Ukraine.
Moreover, the foreign minister has also spoken on recognition by Belarus of the illegal Russian occupation of Crimea. According to him, it will be a blow to the Ukrainian-Belarus relations. This is how he reacted to Lukashenko's spoken intention to visit the peninsula together with Russian President Vladimir Putin. In particular, at the invitation of Putin, Lukashenko plans to visit the base of the airspace forces in the occupied Sevastopol.
If Belarus does recognize the illegal occupation of Crimea by Russia, it will deal an irreparable blow to the Ukrainian-Belarus relations. We will act. Crimea is not a question, considering which we would stay calm. Kuleba, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine.
The Ukrainian military will take part in 26 multinational exercises next year. This was announced by Deputy Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Anna Maler. 10 of them will be held on the territory of Ukraine. More than 20,000 Ukrainian military and about 11,000 foreign ones will be involved. Such drills allow working out modern tactics as well as interaction with the armed forces of NATO member states. Several scenarios for reflecting the possible penetration of migrants into the territory of Ukraine were carried out by border guards, National Guardsmen and the police in the Northwest Volyn region. The combat readiness of detachments to defend Ukrainian borders was checked by Minister of Internal Affairs of Ukraine. Our correspondents will tell you more.
500 alleged migrants from Belarus are trying to break through the checkpoint into the territory of Ukraine. Border guards are trying to restrain them. Units of the National Police, National Guard, combat helicopters and special equipment arrive. The security forces use the Scandinavian tactics of crowding out migrants.
It is necessary that people be trained so that there is training and full interaction between units as it is now, plus that all this happens without weapons.
This is one of the scenarios for the police special operation. Large-scale exercises of units of the Ministry of Internal Affairs started in the Volyn region bordering Belarus. But the conditions are as close to real ones as possible. According to Denis Monastyrsky, in the event of the breakthrough of migrants, all available forces and equipment of the Ministry of Internal Affairs will be at the border within some 30 minutes.
Now we see an absolute reality, the possibility within 30 or 60 minutes to arrive to the required point. The data will be obtained from intelligence if the crowds of migrants appear. The forces of the State Border Guard Service, which will be the first to be in place here, the police forces and the National Guard. All of them are absolutely ready to use forces and means to repel migrants.
The main task of the security forces is to push migrants away from the territory of Ukraine as quickly as possible and without losses.
According to the legislation of Ukraine, your actions are a crime.
The experience of Poland has shown that most often small groups of migrants, 5 to 20 people, try to cross the border illegally with the assistance of Belarusian special services. Therefore, such a scenario of a breakthrough across the border is also a part of the exercise program.
We see the messages sent by the neighboring northern state. We see attempts to intimidate us, that it is possible to redirect illegal migrants, but now we do not observe them at the border.
Together with the units of the Ministry of Internal Affairs at the border, special forces of the Security Service of Ukraine are training as well. According to legend, before the migrants broke through, a sabotage and reconnaissance group entered the territory of Ukraine and settled in an abandoned house near the border.
This group was blocked by the forces of the National Police and the National Guard, but the assault group of the Alpha Special Forces was directly involved in the arrest and elimination of this group.
According to Minister of Internal Affairs Denis Monastyrsky, the same exercises are taking place in all 5 regions of Ukraine bordering on Belarus. Together with the security forces, officers of the State Service of Emergency Situations worked out humanitarian tasks, providing assistance, establishing temporary stay points for people and heating points. Reported by Nick Starkov and Anastasia Lisova, UATV News.
Almost 12,000 new cases of coronavirus were recorded in Ukraine over the past day. 557 people died from complications. Most of the registered cases are in Kyiv, Poltava and Zaporizhia regions. According to the Ministry of Health, as of today, 4 regions are in the yellow quarantine zone, 2 in the orange and the rest are in the red zone. About 257,000 Ukrainians live with HIV. This was stated by Minister of Health Viktor Leshko. Last year, 2,500 people died from the consequences of the disease in our country. The main reason is delayed diagnosis. According to statistics from the Ministry of Health, every third infected person does not know about their HIV status. In order to draw public attention to the problem on the World AIDS Day and talk about the need for testing, a social action was held in the center of Kyiv. My colleagues visited it. Tested means tempered. This is the slogan of a social action dedicated to World AIDS Day in Ukraine.
This slogan in its spelling in Ukrainian also emphasizes the abbreviation ART, antiretroviral therapy. At the moment, this is the most effective method of fighting HIV and AIDS.
Today, the state provides 100% treatment for HIV-positive people. Prices for antiretroviral therapy in Ukraine are the lowest in the region. Mortality from AIDS has decreased 4 times over the past years.
Minister of Health of Ukraine, Viktor Leshko, is also confident in the effectiveness of ART.
На фоні масштабного розширення доступу до антиретровірусної терапії
Amid massive expansion of the access to the antiretroviral therapy, the HIV sickness rate has been steadily declining. Over the past 5 years, the number of deaths from HIV-related illnesses has decreased threefold, but unfortunately, 2,500 people died of HIV last year.
Only those who are aware of their positive status can get therapy. In Ukraine, those are only 2 of 3 infected.
Indeed, one needs to be tested and one needs to know the status as soon as possible, because therapy is available, and the sooner a person learns about an infection, the sooner one will be able to get treatment. And this treatment is safe, it is available, and it is free.
Ukrainians can get tested for HIV at a family doctor, in infectious disease department of clinics and diagnostic centers, as well as in mobile outpatient clinics. Now HIV testing kits are delivering free of charge directly to one's home. One can order a kit on ProZdorovia in UA website.
Taking a test and finding out one's HIV status is simple, quick and painless. Run a special spatula over your gums and dip into a bottle. 20 minutes later, the test strip will show the result.
Health experts are confident that mass regular testing and antiretroviral therapy can completely defeat HIV/AIDS, the plague of the 20th century. They plan to do it by 2030. Reported by Nick Starkov and Valeria Nikipelova, UATV News.
Protection from Russian aggression, international cooperation and reforms. Such issues were discussed by the participants of Kyiv Security Forum. This year it is dedicated to the 30th anniversary of the all-Ukrainian referendum on the independence of Ukraine. And today the struggle for democracy and freedom continues, noted experts of the forum. They added that Ukraine has always had partners' support in the issue of territorial integrity and will to become a member of the EU. In particular, Poland has been constantly supporting Ukraine, said forum president of the European Council, Donald Tusk.
30 years have passed since your referendum. You recalled the fact that Poland was the first to recognize Ukraine's independence on the 1st of December. Then Ukraine and the people took care of independence and territorial integrity forever. In my opinion, no one is now favoring Ukrainians and Ukraine in its European aspirations. But in fact, you give the greatest evidence and readiness to defend European values, yours and the European Union's borders. Please do not doubt, our path was also difficult. We had enemies and friends. Then we had enough courage and strength to defend our independence. Today, neither we nor you will lack the strength to make dreams come true in a critical situation.
Ukraine will cooperate with Apple. On the eve, a corresponding memorandum was signed by the Minister of Digital Transformation and the American company. Together with Apple, Ukraine will hold an all-Ukrainian population census in 2023. Besides, the American company will help improve the DE application. To help establish the work in no-paper mode and make services more accessible online with the help of the electronic documents exchange. In addition, its cooperation is said to contribute to the development of digital technologies in healthcare and increase digital literacy of Ukrainians.
For us, it's one of the priority to digitalize all our functions, all our government, office of the president, parliament, and we are on this way. And I'm happy that we are on this way with you.
I have worked in and around government for 23 years in technology, and I have never seen a government like Ukraine moving so quickly and advancing and innovating. It's very impressive. I personally am excited. I met with Ambassador Markarova in Washington, D.C. 3 weeks ago, and she said that technology for Ukraine is an issue of national security, and I firmly agree.
Ukraine became a member of the UNESCO Committee for the Protection of Cultural Heritage in the event of an armed conflict. This was announced by Minister of Culture and Information Policy of Ukraine, Alexander Tkachenko. Membership term is 4 years. To remind, in September, the UNESCO released a report on Russia's appropriation of Ukrainian cultural values in the occupied Crimea.
Given the armed aggression on the part of the Russian Federation, its attempts to spread information propaganda, as well as constant attempts to appropriate the Ukrainian cultural heritage, Ukraine's membership is an important stage for our state. This will become an effective mechanism to strengthen the protection of our monuments in the occupied Crimea and in the temporarily occupied territories of Donetsk and Luhansk regions. Alexander Tkachenko, Minister of Culture and Information Policy of Ukraine.
The safety of civilians in the Democratic Republic of the Congo is guarded by Ukrainian peacekeepers. But what about the peacekeepers' own safety? Given the new Omicron coronavirus strain was identified in Africa, our special correspondent Alexander Machov, who works there now, will tell you more.
A new coronavirus strain named Omicron was identified in South Africa, and residents of this country, as well as neighboring states, have already been banned from entering the EU and the United States. The Democratic Republic of the Congo is located in Central Africa. There is an international airport, and the base of Ukrainian peacekeepers is also located here. But there are no new restrictions at the moment. Ukrainian peacekeepers leave the base only to fulfill the mission's tasks, for example, for flights. All contacts with local residents were prohibited previously. Food is delivered to the base centrally by the UN mission. Besides, all Ukrainian peacekeepers were vaccinated against coronavirus before arriving to the country. Reported by Alexander Machov, Alexander Khlinin and Nick Starkov, specially for UATV News.
That's all for this hour. More updates on our official website, YouTube, Twitter and Facebook pages. Thank you for staying with the YouTube channel. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.